howlers.
Welcome everybody to Fade to Obsidian, your Red Rising podcast on spaceships and relationships and death. We're talking a lot about death. I'm Skipper, joined as always by Crescent, and joined this week from the Bookish Banter podcast, Tatyana. Welcome in. Thanks for joining
I'm very
us.
excited for joining us.
Yay!
Tell us a little bit about your podcast. You've joined us before. You were on the Women's Day episode, so we're excited to have you back. But just for people who don't know who you are, give us a little brief outline. And what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, so I've been doing the podcast for like 6 years now, which feels like a wild amount of time. And I do book reviews. We do a lot of author interviews, kind of across genres, but do a lot of cozy fantasy and romantasy book reviews, and then author interviews, and just like random stuff, like your favorite, book talk recommendations, trope stuff, all the fun things. Yeah, mostly author interviews and book reviews. So that's what I've been doing. And then I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm drinking a hot toddy in a nice Legends and Lattes cup.
It's so cute. I love it.
I know, I'm like obsessed with this one. Such a fun shape.
Yeah.
For those
great.
Just bought that book.
A latte cup. So
Crescent, did you just say you just bought Legends? Yeah, we're just getting Crescent into cozy fantasy. I love cozy fantasy, and I keep being like, what about this one? What about this one?
One of my favorites is Dark Age. So,
what a cozy fantasy.
It's not my usual vibe.
Yeah. It's a good palate cleanser in between,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like it. Crescent, what are you drinking tonight?
I got beer.
Nice.
5
Tastes
stars.
like beer. 5 out of 5.
It's beer. I like it. I have Chardonnay.
What
Tastes
about
like
you?
wine. 5 out of 5.
Oh.
It is called Goat Lady Chardonnay, which just like amuses me, but it's not like it's topical or anything. But Goat Lady, amuse me in my Hazard Bedlam glass there. So, yeah. This week we are joined. Oh, we're gonna give the warning now. This episode contains spoilers up until Lightbringer. Definitely Golden Sun, but we may talk all the way to Lightbringer. So if you haven't finished that, go finish Lightbringer and then return to us, because I'm going to ruin Golden Sun at least in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're talking about Quinn's death this week, which is one of the, I think, most traumatic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I reread it for the first time in 3 years, and I forgot how it all played out, that I was like, oh, we get like everything, which we'll get into in a moment. But before we get there, what is your relationship with Quinn? Why have you opted to come on the episode?
We talked about this a lot in the Women's Day episode, so I could wax poetic about her like forever. I think for me, her relationship with Sevro and Roke, who are like my favorite characters, is just like, I think what like makes that so traumatic. Obviously, like the actual death itself, but I feel like her character as a whole, and obviously we'll get into this in the episode, but just like I think the repercussions of like what could happen had she been alive are so vast. And like I think she's such an underrated character, and she could have been, in my opinion, like the sort of like middleman between Victra and Mustang, because I feel like her personality, like she's really cool, she's very strong, but she's also like lacking a little bit in like the badassery of Victra, but she also has that like intelligence of Mustang, and I think she could have been like a really good bridge between them, and also like her relationship with Roke and Severo and like where that could have gone. So I think for me, it's like that one was just like, it's such a shocking death. Like you do not see it coming at all. And then like for it to end the way it did, and just like the Jackal's involvement is like, it's just, I don't know. I think that hers is like, she's not a huge character, but it does, I feel like, have a really big impact on like Golden Sun specifically, and more into like Morningstar. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it's one of those ones that's kind of wild.
Absolutely. If
100%.
you can think back to the first time you read Red Rising, I don't know how many years ago it was for you. Do you remember, like, obviously you're passionate about it, so you probably do, but like, exactly when it happened.
Yeah, like I read the first one in, I think it was like 2021. I'm kind of like later to the series, and I read them all back to back to back. I've reread the series a few times, but like I was such a Roke stan from like day one. Like I read Red Rising and I was like, I love Roke. Like I love him so much. And even my first like full read through, I was like, I don't know, is he wrong? Like I didn't hate him in Golden Sun. I didn't hate him in Morning Star. And I feel like that's why it hit me, like, and why I still think about Quinn so often is because like I loved him even after all the things he did, because I was like, like he's just trying to do his best.
Yeah.
But the second time around, when I reread it, I was like, no, I hate Roke. Like he's like a pussy little bitch. But the first time, like I would have died for him. Like I was like, listen,
Yeah.
he is not wrong. Like he's been betrayed. He has been told like everything he believes in is wrong, and he had so much faith in like the society and himself, and then he like watched the girl he liked in the Institute die, whose name escapes me at this moment in time. Yeah. Like he watched that happen for like like Darrow, like to raise Darrow up again, and then for him to watch like it happen to Quinn, I was like, oh, like he just went through so much. No, it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Crescent, do you remember? Crescent's read it 20 times, 30 times at this point. Think all the way back. Do you remember?
Yeah. Beyond lost count. Yeah. It's so surprising, but like for the page and a half before it, it's like, oh, something bad is coming.
Yeah.
It's like the dread starts to creep in, and it's like, okay, who's getting it?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was definitely shocked by it. I mean, I read it like the week it came out, so 2015. So it's been a decade since I remember.
Yeah.
But it is interesting of this time around reading it. And I guess especially because I'm reading it like for this episode or all the other deaths, and all of my notes are like, oh, like who's that gonna tip off? But it is very interesting. Sorry, a cat just missed jumping on a desk and is trying to walk it off like she's fine. It is very interesting of Quinn's involvement in those like 3 chapters, let's say, leading up is way more than she is in the rest. And now it would, I feel like, tip me off of like, I don't think we're getting her for long, right? Like it's Sevro and the Howlers and Quinn, right? Like it's just and Quinn and Quinn and Quinn, and then it's like, oh, there she is. But it's still so jarring in how it happens. And the thing, as I say, like I forget I'm lucky that I'm one of those people that if I can leave a book for 3 years, I just forget it. So I know like the points, and I remembered like her dying at the hands of Aja, but not how it actually went down, kind of an idea. And I forgot the whole part about the jackal trying to revive her. Like it is actually way more traumatic. And I think she's the Crescent can fix me on this. I feel like she is one of the only deaths that happens with a group of people and they're all standing there trying to save her. Like all the other deaths are kind of these quick one and dones, but she's the only one that it is a true like chapter after chapter. Does she have medical attention? Does she have medical attention? Until it's this like, no, she's gone.
Yeah.
I think the only other person that I can think of is like Calendora.
Yeah.
And really, is she getting medical attention?
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think like in her death too, this is another one where it's like it is like just the brutality of Aja, and it's not like, and I think like Darrow says this like in retrospect later on about how he's like, what could I have done in that moment? And I think there's like very few options, but it's also one of those ones where it's like it's not fought with a razor, it's not in like the heat of battle, it's like it's so out of pocket, and it's just like purely brutal. Like she is just so powerful, and she just punches her in the head, and you're like, this is, and it's just like it also shows, like I think like the Howlers, even though they are like, kind of just not that reformed, they still have like this huge moral code, and like you see that kind of disappear with Aja and the rest of them, and you're like, that sort of sets up like what's gonna happen with Golden Sun, and like who is gonna stand by like what their moral code is and like what they're fighting for, versus like the Sovereign and her being able to like do whatever it takes to stay in power. And I think that does show a lot about too, like what the golds are willing to sacrifice, which is literally anything in order to like stay on top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
which is wild.
great call out.
And I think that's a good, like a really jarring moment too for like Severo and the rest of them who are like, I grew up in the society. I was told like the golds act this certain way, and we're supposed to be like in a moral high ground, and like we're better than everyone else. And it's like she does something that's like so brutal. It's like for nothing, like he's like willing to give you Lysander. Like he was like gonna give him back. And then she did that. And it was like, never mind, Like I think in that moment, like he would have swapped her life for Lysander's. And I think that's like a big fissure in the group of seeing like what they're capable of and like
Yeah.
and kind of deciding at that moment, like what side are you gonna stand on? Which might not be that deep, but I'm gonna pretend it is.
Yeah. Well, the quote I wrote out was that Quinn's used as bait, right? Like that's Darrow's like she's 100% just they're baiting me. They want to see me mad. They want to see, and that is all Aja wants is what is the reaction we can get out of Darrow. And unfortunately, it comes at the life of Quinn. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like the other thing too is the Severo Roke love triangle of it all. And like, she's with Cassius in Red Rising and the first one. And, she sort of like flits about the group. And I think she's one of those ones that's like, she's sort of a sleeper agent in like people's rear view. Like you don't really think about her in the first one. And you're like, oh, she's kind of a little bit weak in Red Rising, this first one specifically. And then in the second one, she really comes into her own. And it's like you don't know which side you're rooting for. You're like, oh, do you want Severo to like find somebody? Does she feel like the best for him, or is it like is she more suited for someone like Roke? And I honestly think if she hadn't died, what happened with Roke might not have happened. Like I think he would have felt betrayed with the gala and all of that kind of stuff, but like I think she would have been the one to like pull him back into the fold and be like, listen, like I felt the same way. We grew up very similar, yada yada. Look at all these people who are like I care about you and we care about you and we like want you to rejoin the rebellion. So like I actually do kind of feel like if she had lived, Roke would not have turned into like the person that he was and probably like wouldn't have died also. So
yeah.
Yeah, there's a way better chance of quote unquote redeeming Roke.
Or like just keeping him there. And like that might have ended even worse, right? Like he could have betrayed them much later down the line if something had ever happened to her or whatever, like that could have been a bigger catastrophe. But I really do feel like Morningstar might not have happened, or like even the end of Golden Sun probably wouldn't have happened if like Quinn hadn't died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think the end of Golden Sun for sure. Like Rogue flipping that quickly would not have. And also like trusting the Jackal that quickly. Was that because the Jackal is who tried at least to save Quinn? That Roke then is looking, being like, well, that's who actually did it, even though, who knows? Like, I don't know. I think I trust that the Jackal was in fact trying to save her, but at the same time, you're like, it's the Jackal that I'm like, is he really putting that much effort in?
I mean, considering he actually kills her.
Is that what?
Yeah, he tells Darrow later that he pushed a chunk of her skull into her brain.
See, there you go. I forgot that part.
And that's another one I think that's really subtle is like if you're not paying attention. I caught it the second time that I read it. Like the first time I was like, okay, so she died. And then when you go back and reread it, it's like, yeah, the Jackal actually did it. I think it's like, I don't know, he's such a classic like narcissist where it's like, did it serve him at the time? And like he isn't wrong, right? Like he's like, she wouldn't have wanted to live this way like a vegetable, but it's like you were not the person to make that decision for her. You don't know her well enough to like say that and be allowed to do that. And I think that's like what is so like jarring for Roke is that he's like, will Darrow trust anybody who will like who's gonna end up in the fold? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him like sort of allowing him to, like the Jackal to get a second chance. Like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, exactly that. It's like, do you really think he tried that hard to save her? Probably not.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
He just looked like the hero in the moment. Right? Like
that like served him very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like remember her in Red Rising as a whole? Like, did you have thoughts on her before she died or like before she kind of like became a bigger part of Golden Sun?
I confused her and Leah constantly. I'm like, I don't know, that one girl that's either with Cassie or with Roke and they're swapping back and forth. Who knows? Like, I confuse the two of them often in Red Rising. Yeah.
I just remember Quinn always being like, quote unquote, Sevro's love interest. You know, they talk about her like, oh, do we have a female Sevro on our hands, when she like pretends that she's killed this deer with her teeth, going so far as to put deer hair in her teeth. So, I always thought she was kind of funny. And then they talk about her being the fastest thing that they've ever seen on two legs. So yeah, funny, capable.
Yeah, I think she's a really cool character that's like very underrated, but she doesn't like she doesn't have a lot of
Absolutely.
screen time, like you said. She's really on the page for just a little bit and like in passing, and she's used like a lot as a pawn, but I think like she could have been a really cool character, and like it's kind of sad to see these moments where it's like people who felt, it's sort of like the clown pebble of it all, where it's like they are such a big part of the series, but at the same time, it's like you don't really know that much about them until they end up on page, and then you're like, I think I love these guys, but I don't know enough about them to feel anything other than that, right? Like a howler,
Yeah. Yeah, and even when she comes back, it is funny of like how much more screen time, which makes sense, of like we don't know Clown and Pebble and Screwface and them during Red Rising. Again, they are the more background characters, like especially Clown and Pebble. I feel like it's not until Morning Star and even into the second that you're like, oh yeah, they're like quintessential. But like not as much. But when the Howlers return, it is it's the Howlers and Quinn is here, and Quinn is the only one over 2 meters tall, and like it's like a big thing.
She's kind of like a sub Mustang for them. Like, when she's with Cassius, they're like, well, we have to have a girl, right? Like, and we have to like her, and we have to make her seem really like important. I think, like as a group, the boys are like, we've got to have somebody to like idolize. And they're fresh out of that with the rest of them. So
yeah. Well, and I had to laugh.
And Pebble's just one of the guys.
Yeah.
Poor Pebble. There was a couple parts that when I was reading, I was like, is this just how it's written? But it almost like, it's like, I don't know. I even got confused of like, it's like Pebble rips the first aid kit off the wall and hands it to Roke, and then he hands it to the Jack. Like, it's a whole thing, but just in how it was worded, it took me 2 attempts to be like, he for Pebble? No, Roke's in there. Roke's somehow involved, right? Like, I was like, did Pierce forget that Pebble is a woman? Like,
girl? Yeah.
Poor Pebble.
I know.
But what was I gonna say? I had another comment about all of that. But yeah, like about like her smile and all of that. And I love, and it's a little bit of foreshadowing that she tries to give her helmet to Darrow, and Darrow's like, if you get a bump on your head, like Roke's gonna kill me, and wax poetically, and Sevro's like, yeah, keep your helmet, I hate poetry. Like, it's a little bit of foreshadowing, but you just see that little bit of how much Roke loves her, and how all of them are just like, no, we're gonna protect you, we're gonna be fine. Like, yeah,
and how much she really like idolizes Darrow, I think, in Golden Sun, and just like being a part of something, like she finds so much in the Howlers, in that one, in the first one, like you said, with the deer, and like just being able to like accept Sevro for who he is. And I feel like him finally feeling like he's allowed to feel some type of way about the Golds, and like finally for the first time in his life being like, okay, well then they're not the worst people in the whole wide world. Like, all the things my dad has done and like built with the Sons of Ares has been taught him to like hate Golds, and he's finally got to see that in the Institute, that there are not only bad versions of them. And I feel like she like accepted him for who he was, and was like sort of the catalyst, I think, for a couple of these guys to sort of tip themselves over and be like, Darrow is the person we should believe in, and like, Sevro is his backup. Like Sevro is, Howler number 2, right? Like he's kind of gonna be a part of the gang forever. So yeah, I really like their relationship. I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the her death is really the first time we see Sevro humanized. Really, like he's kind of this like almost mythical figure to the rest of the Institute in Red Rising, and her death is just like, wow, like Sevro is feeling it.
Yeah, because
that one's really hard.
It's the first, which at the time you don't really think about anything, but it's the first time Sevro and Victra interact, and Victra's actually trying to provide comfort, and he just turns on her like, I don't know you, and then fucking Tactus read the room. Like Tactus is like comes in and he's like, well, I'm doing better than what's her face back here, and Sevro just fully like taking him down.
Fucking
like
decks him.
I love this.
Yeah, like absolutely the passion of Sevro comes through in that moment that it, normally every other time they've had these skirmishes and even after Sevro kind of can play it off and like whatever, but we just see in those two moments of him snapping at Victra, which I mean Sevro would usually snap at someone he doesn't know, but then Tactus where it's like, no, don't fucking talk about her. Take your
that was really
goddamn
brutal.
name out of your goddamn
that
mouth.
is such a fucking brutal takedown.
Like, and him at the beginning too, like Tactus in the entirety of this book is so bad. Like he's just like smoking and drinking his way through life and is like so insensitive. And like in that moment too, where you're like, this is the first big death that we've had for someone like in the Howlers that that really feels like a consequence for their actions and being like, what could we have done in retrospect? And for him to come in and like be that insensitive is just like so in character for him. But yeah, it is really like humanizing for Sevro. And I want to punch him in that moment, like I would have punched him in the face too.
My notes say Tactus, read the room, and then Tactus, I could never love you. But I'm like,
listen, I'm really curious to hear that.
Tactus apology.
I totally am. Like I love him so much as a character because I think he's so funny and he's for lack of a better word, like he is so tactless. And I just love that about him. And I think like he's such an interesting and like complex character. So I'm excited to hear that episode when you guys do talk about his death. Well, you're doing
it'll be the one after this one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause like I really feel like he's another one that has like a lot of walls up and we never get to like see that part of him. And he never gets to be human in that way. And so I don't know. He's a good one.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's a mess. That's for sure.
Boy, howdy, is he ever.
Yeah.
There's no therapy in space. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, because he needs it. He needs it. But
yeah.
Yeah, Quinn was their therapy, but she died.
Yeah, she was.
Also,
gosh.
So I would like you guys to understand the restraint I had with picking beer today. I almost had vodka punch.
Oh! It's bad.
That's savage. So I'm curious because you think you guys have done this for the other episodes. How many times is Quinn's name like mentioned in the series? I have no guesses. I'm going to say 20. What is that number?
Okay, so in Red Rising, do you have a guess while she's alive? Just for Red Rising.
Well, I'd probably say like 20 or 30. Like I know that she's brought up quite a bit, but I don't think she's that. It's more
54.
Wow. Okay.
In Red Rising. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of screen time, I feel like, that she's just around. Like, she doesn't have talking pieces, but it's like, and Quinn's in the room. Like, there's a lot of that of like...
And like, Quinn's being hung up by a poster. Her ears getting ripped off. Like, oh, poor Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quinn's in the corner.
She's hunting deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Golden Sun, now I didn't ask him to do a breakdown. These are all Crescent's numbers that I have recorded, but 78 in Golden Sun. So part of that will be when she's alive, but even then she's doesn't have that much screen time.
I think she's a big part of the gala. I feel like she's like a lot of in that scene, like in that setup when they're going. I feel like
it's afterward. No, she doesn't show up until afterwards when they're doing the escape.
Not until afterwards.
But they talk about her a bunch, right? Like they're talking to Roke about, think of her smile and I'll get you home to Quinn. Like there is a lot of banter with Roke. But yeah, 78 in Golden Sun.
Oh.
And then Morning Star is 26. And so I feel like a lot of guilt still sitting with all of them. And like, that's also when you get the Roke playing out, like, as you said, like if she was still alive, would Roke still be there? I'm like, there's a bunch of that. But then, the second trilogy, not so much. 0 in Iron Gold, 1 in Dark Age, and 1 in Lightbringer.
Wow. I'm not super surprised. I think her character arc really ends in Morningstar, like with the original trilogy. I think like the guilt and all those things. I don't necessarily say her death has like a lasting effect on like our main characters. I think it has it on those side characters that all also die. Yeah. Not to spoil too much. But I think
we already said it's Lightbringer all the way to the end.
I think a lot of that lives in Roke and that whole group, and
Yeah.
they're dead.
Yeah. Well, and out of curiosity, Chris, and I know you might be able to do a quick search, is that Lightbringer reference when Sevro and Darrow are watching from the Institute in Cassius's room?
It is not.
Oh, when is
It is sorry, let me get this number out.
Okay.
61 pre-death, 17 post-death in
Oh, in Golden Sun. Okay.
Golden Sun. It is when Sevro and Darrow are fighting. Basically, Darrow telling Sevro to take a short walk out of an airlock. If he's not going to get his shit together.
Right, because he says, like, you couldn't protect Quinn, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's not Darrow. It's Sevro and Cassius fighting.
Oh.
Couldn't save Julian, couldn't protect Quinn, couldn't keep Mustang intrigued. You're the shallow end of the pool.
God, that's so savage.
But
that
also,
is wild.
Cassius is, I guess, Cassius is involved in the fact of, like, the Bolognas went after Quinn, but Cassius is not in these chapters killing Quinn. He doesn't have the option to keep her alive.
No, I think because, like, I think what he was talking about in that specific time is when they capture, when Tactus's team, like, captures Quinn, and they, like, cut off her ear, and he and she's, like, Cassius'
girl,
when
Titus cuts her ear off. And then pisses on Cassius.
Yeah.
Okay. I could, 100% I could see that.
Like, it's so funny because I feel like when you read it the first time, you're like, okay, so obviously, like, you know, Quinn and Cassius are like a total thing, and then there's this like little romance with Severo on the side. But it's like, it's so funny because when I go into Golden Sun, like, I forget that relationship happened at all, and it's like almost the entirety of the book, like, and you just have forgotten that they were even a thing. You know, Cassius is fickle.
Yeah, well, and it's like a line at the end of Red Rising of like, oh, she's with Roke now.
Okay.
Roke
she stands there with her arm around him.
Yeah.
Making me realize that she has left Cassius.
Yeah. They're like, they're
the
together
first
for
time
a
Darrow
long
has
part of the
ever
book.
noticed something like that.
Yeah. He's like, what?
Yeah,
Other people have relationships? What? I don't know.
Just Cassius.
Yeah.
He always knows what Cassius's relationship status is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that also means that Roke and her are together for what, like 2 years? If they started dating in the Institute and then in theory are still together at her death. Like what, that's 2 years, right?
I don't think I would call them like together.
Okay.
Because so you know the story they tell about the two pigeons?
The pigeons,
like,
yeah.
It talks about like right at the beginning of the book when at the beginning of Golden Sun when they say that Darrow is going to be able to like fill out his ship roster, basically talking about bringing Quinn back from Ganymede.
Yeah.
So she's been gone.
She's been gone. Right.
So like absolutely they were a thing for a while. Right. But I don't know about like together.
Yeah. So then poor Roke wakes up after being drugged, so can't go to the gala. So he's probably waking. Can we? This isn't the Roke episode, but I feel like we need to take a moment here to acknowledge that he is drugged by his supposed friend. Wakes up afterwards, probably being held captive by the Sovereign. Is then like, you know, escapes from that, and then said love interest is immediately like when he shows up, it's like dying. Like poor Roke is just going through it in that. Like
I think that's what traumatizes him so much to like make him second guess like everything, because not only has he been told like his whole life, like he is in a sense very Julian-esque, right? Where he's like sort of a softer gold, and he's been told his whole life like this is the system, this is why you should follow it, and then he takes a huge risk. In that huge risk, he gets drugged and kidnapped. And he's like, so, I don't know. I don't think Darrow was right. I think maybe all these other people who have told me my whole life, this is the way that society works. Maybe they're right. So I do see, and I think like, it's like the things that he finds most valuable he understands that like to Darrow it does not matter, and he can say all the things that he wants to, like Darrow can say all the things to Roke and say like, you know, it does matter to me, I'm gonna protect her all I want, but like when it boils down to it he doesn't. And I think that's like such a quintessential moment, and like you don't see it until so far later, but I really feel like that is one of the that is probably the straw that broke the camel's back for him, is when he says like I'm gonna do everything I can to protect Quinn, and then she dies. And on top of that, like, you know, he's like, I just drugged you because I wanted you to be safe. And then Roke is like, fuck you, bro. Like, I literally fought the same as you. Like, we were in the, like, I trained just as hard as you did, you know? So it's like him taking away his autonomy from him in the gala moment. And then on top of that, like, taking away, like, the person he loves. I feel like Roke feels so helpless. And so he, like, takes back his autonomy by betraying him, which is, like, a horrible thing to do. But at the same time, like, he's one of those people that society and what he's been taught as a gold is exactly what he thinks is correct. So he's just doing he thinks is right, which is crushing a rebellion.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, but you know, poor Roke.
Yeah.
What would you do? You know, I don't know. If some guy who I just met told me this is how the way the world works, I don't know if I would believe him, you know? Like I'd have a hard time with that. Even if you went through something like the Institute together, it's like I can see where his like where the cracks start to form in these things that you feel like, oh, we really went through this thing together, but like what you care for is not the same thing that I care about. You know, what's important to you isn't important to like what's important to me isn't important to you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not a Roke apologizer. Like, listen, I hate him. But the first time around, I was like, listen, I get it. Like, bro, I understand. I don't know. Maybe I would do the same thing. I would definitely be in Aries. I'm telling you that right now. in House Mars. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It's always hard. I don't know. I'm trying to think back that I think I notoriously did not like Cassius until Lightbringer. So I know for a fact. But I feel like Roke I was okay with until the end of Golden Sun. And that's when I just felt as betrayed as everyone else. But like I get it on like rereads rather than there's some people who was it Hurricane? Was it Hurricane or Scarlet? One of the two of them is on our Roke episode the first time round for his death.
Scarlet.
And Scarlet is the biggest Roke apologist and didn't know until joining the Howler's Den that that's not the way the whole fandom is, which I love. That's why we do this, of having a different guest every single episode, because you get people that's like, what do you mean that's not how, like, is this a hot take or not? Like, what's happening? But Roke, like, as you say, I get it. And especially now talking it through of like, yeah, what is really your reasoning for drugging when you didn't drug Victra, you didn't drug Tactus, like...
Especially Tactus. Like, I think that is the other thing, too. It's like the ultimate betrayal. But, like, in Darrow's defense, he cares more about Roke than he cares about Tactus. So, like,
100%.
He wanted nothing more than to save him, right? And, like, Roke does not see it that way because he didn't know the grand plan.
Yeah.
Like, in his eyes, it was like, you think I as a gold am weak, and that's, like, unacceptable, right? In the grand scheme of being a gold, being weak is, like, the worst thing you could possibly be. And I think that was, like, what was so offensive, especially to someone like him who is so proud and poetic and, like, cares so much about, like, class and status. I don't know. I'm, like, on both sides of it. Like, I could apologize for him endlessly, and I think, like, he is, at the end of the day, like, he wanted to make someone proud. And, like, whether that was his family or Darrow, we'll never, like, you won't know until you're, like, at that point in the book. But I don't think he ever was, like, out to make himself proud. Like, I think he just wanted to make someone else proud. And that was, like, I think his biggest character flaw. And, like, maybe one of the reasons why, like, it was really hard for Quinn to choose him, because she felt like, you know, he didn't really have a lot of, like, personality to stand on.
Yep.
I don't know. What's that?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't take him on vacation. He'd be so boring.
Yeah, like, what's going on here? You're like a cardboard box. He's funny. He's so precious, but boring.
Boring. I'm sorry.
Boring.
Yeah. I love it.
He would read you poetry at the edge of the ocean.
He would. He'd be very
but that's
cute
it.
for like one day, right? You're like, yes, let's go on our one romantic date. But then when I just want to like get drunk by the pool and he's still trying to read me poetry, I feel like, no.
Please go away.
Goodbye.
I read some really good Tactus and Roke fanfic. They're a cute couple. That was fun.
Yep.
They're a good group. That's a good pairing. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty boring.
Do we think that Quinn then is more like perfect for Sevro? Like they seem to be more aligned in things. Like do we think they would actually make a good couple at the end of the day?
I do. I think they are more well suited than her and Roke because I think like she learned a lot about herself in the Institute and what she was looking for, and like her relationship with Cassius just never felt like natural to me. Like I always felt like it was like, okay, I kind of get it. You're like leaning towards like the strongest one in the pack, but like her relationship with Severo just felt so genuine. And we don't know a ton about like her background and her character prior to all of this, so I could be wrong. But I feel like I don't know. I just think that they would match each other's energy really well, and like she would
Yeah.
learn so much from him, but he would also like become really human with her. Whereas like I think he sort of lacks a little bit of that with Victra because Victra is so like rough around the edges. She doesn't like require that of him, but I think like Quinn would bring it out in him. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like in a rebellion, maybe you don't need like the soft human side of you, but I think they would have made a really good couple.
I mean, given how like pent up Severo is, basically the rest of the series, I could see Quinn being a very good influence on him.
Yeah.
It is very hard to see or like to imagine anyone but Victra with Severo, but like it's talked about in Red Rising how she is the only one that doesn't call him Goblin.
Mhm.
Yes. And that's
Yeah.
mentioned also in Golden Sun of
Mhm.
that she continues to call him Severo and not Goblin.
Yeah.
And I think she could have, like I said, I think she could have been a really good bridge with Mustang and Victra, and like they could have been a really fun trio because I feel like she had so much she could have grown into, and she was like really cool and badass, but she was also like really willing to learn, and she had a lot of background in Gold Society and all that kind of stuff, and I feel like they would have been a really fun group to kind of see build more, and especially in Golden Sun, like everybody hates Victra, which I always forget about that.
Yeah.
But it's like so funny because I feel like she could have been the one that was like, no, Victor's actually like really cool. Like she taught me all these things, and like could have been like a mentor mentee kind of thing. And I feel like the three of them would have been a really fun friendship that was like never explored. But we don't really get a lot of that in general in this series with I feel like specific female friendships as like a cluster.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, I
I
feel
love her.
like even Victra and Mustang, it's not until Dark Age that you're like, oh, you might like each other. You might
Yeah.
And it's
put up
like
with being
the
in the same.
second last chapter.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that is like,
You get to
Okay.
Lightbringer, you're like, okay, well, I know they like each other enough to not kill each other, so she's gonna be okay for now.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, 100% it would be interesting if in Morning Star Quinn was around, whether or not with, let's say Darrow, wrote for somehow it plays out that Darrow still ends up in the box, everyone thinking he's dead for a couple bit. I think you're right that I don't think Severo would go as off the handle as he does if he had someone there to ground him. Because he doesn't really have, like, he has Pebble and Clown and Screwface and all of them, but we don't see their interactions in that soft side that is like grounding him in the same way Darrow does, Quinn does, and then we know later Victra does, but he doesn't have that with Victra at the time. Well, and Victra's also
there's no like
stuck in
mitigating
a
influence.
cell. Victra's
really
off somewhere
going
else as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like you're right that Quinn definitely could have in some way been almost like Mustang to to Darrow of that, like, yes, we have a soft like Politico almost to the warlord.
Right. Yeah. And like, maybe he would have never found Darrow had he had Quinn to tell him like, no, he's gone. And then that could have been like a whole different thing too, right? Like if he's more focused on running things with like taking over the Sons of Ares and Quinn being like, here, I'm here to help you, like would he have kept looking for Darrow?
Yeah.
That's another thing, right? Need him a little crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if they would have been a good couple now because maybe you don't need the soft side of Severo in a rebellion, but later down the road, they deserve a happily ever after at some point. Okay?
Yes.
Someone does.
Someone
he could convince Severo not to have a goatee.
I agree.
Yeah. Maybe she would have convinced him to shower. Like, I feel like Victor is so, like, hands off of, like, two different
she's so, like, who cares, whatever. He is who he is, and that's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, because it's, like, stuck in the back of my head, This is for Crescent. What is the one mention in Dark Age? When is she a single mention in Dark Age?
Boy. It's honestly kind of similar, seems to me.
Sevro's mad
Oh,
once again. Sevro's one thing is like she's gone.
It's in when it is not the same thing. When Darrow goes into Sevro's room on the Morning Star, and he sees Quinn's Howler cloak on Sevro's like trophy wall, or his memory wall. Sorry.
It's actually
one of Ragnar's razors, Weed's old pipe, Quinn's Howler cloak, the bloody cape Octavia Alun wore the day I killed her. And then,
one of those is not like the other. It's like
literally
endearing trophy.
The last thing on that wall, and it says highest on the wall in a place of honor, is the sling blade I used at the Institute.
Oh.
Wow.
That's like devastating, you know?
Yeah.
Dark Age is dark.
Yep.
Real dark.
Yeah.
Oh, he kept her Howler cloak. That's so sad.
That's crazy. Of like, I'm
crazy.
also just thinking through how that works because they're wearing them in that scene, are they? And so like Quinn's dead, and Sevro's just like, how much is take?
Yeah. Borrow that.
Oh, probably when they were prepping her for her sun burial, he was like, "Yeah, no, Howler cloaks stay with the pack."
Oh, that's so sad. Genuinely devastating.
Yeah. That's another thing. Is she the first one we see? She's definitely the first one we see, but not the last, to have like an actual proper funeral and burial. Because Pax doesn't. We don't know what happens to Pax's body.
I believe so.
Julian was in the passage.
Presumably, Pax's body would have gone back to
the family, but we don't see that.
And they would have given him the sun burial, but
like she is the first death that is like the consequences of their actions, like the first big death in this rebellion, and it feels like the first time very real to these guys. And not only that, is it the first time that they actually, and like you said, she's one of the ones that is a very prolonged death, right? Like it is excruciatingly long. They're trying to save her. Everything else is like in the heat of battle or in some sort of like manipulation or something like that. Like she is one of the first ones to go down with the ship for like nothing. Like it's so like useless. That's the thing too, is like it means nothing. Like it's so sad to say that too, because again, I think she is such a quintessential character and could have been so much bigger for something as simple as like Aja just like using her as bait and like wanting to see Darrow's reaction and him trying to figure out like the best way to go out of it. And it's like, what could he have done in that moment? Nothing. Like nothing would have stopped her from that. And it's so brutal. And it's like, wow. Aja is nuts.
Absolutely. Does not think twice.
I'm a big fan of hating her. I hate her almost as much as Lysander.
Yeah. She's such a good character to hate, though. Like Lysander's at least whiny, and I'm like, get out of here. Aja, it's like
she's a great villain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every time she's on page, she's just like stealing the show.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I get it. I understand it, but I hate her, you know?
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. I had another thought, and then it's gone.
Is there a fanfic where she lives? I need to find that.
There's fanfic for
I am
everything.
sure there is.
There has to be.
Yeah.
What could have happened?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you brought up like consequences of actions of, when she is not necessarily pronounced dead, but comes out, Roke's carrying her lifeless body. And Darrow's thing is like, he blames me, and he should. And that's one of those ones that I feel like one of the first ones Darrow's truly like, hey, there was nothing around this, which is crazy. Like,
yeah, and his guilt is just tenfold throughout, and it just builds from here. And I feel like, I don't know, that one's so hard, because I think all of Golden Sun is like watching a ball of yarn unravel, right? Like every moment with Roke is like what, and you're watching it, it's sort of like, it reminds me a lot of like Game of Thrones, like the first season, where, or like in general, I guess, where you could say like everything that goes wrong and all the people that are killed is due to their pride, in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's like, it's a lot of that in this one. You're like, if Darrow had not been so like prideful, he, like, so many things would have been different, right? Like if you'd have just had open lines of communication, Space does not have therapy, and you would have just really talked things through, or just like and more trusting. And it's like, what are the consequences of that? Like if you are trusting, are you trusting the wrong people and all those things? But it's like, I truly believe like his guilt in this moment is absolutely at the level it should be. Like you did something so wrong, and it's like, it's not his fault, but it's like, you know, when something bad happens and it's like it's the bad person's fault, but you're like, oh no, it's my fault. It's like, I think that was the appropriate response, because in hindsight it's Aja's fault, but like Darrow led her into this, right? And it's kind of like, what is the point? And I think this is one of those moments where it's like, is what we're doing worth it for who we're going to lose in a non-battle scenario, right? Like who he could have lost at the gala, and like who could have died, who obviously dies, you know, at the very end with like Fitchner and all that. And when they're, you know, when the big reveal happens at the very end of Golden Sun, it's like all those people for what, you know? Yeah, Darrow is so messy, you know, and it's like, he says it a lot, like he's not a political, he doesn't know how to like have those conversations and navigate that and do all these things. And then when this stuff happens, it's so jarring for his character. And I feel like, I don't know, it's like, you got to live in that guilt a little bit. I'm happy that you did that.
For 100%, I agree with you. But I also wonder how much of this is also on Mustang. A little bit on the sole purpose of she is who called back the Howlers. She is the one who, you know, obviously, I don't think there is any other way she could have played it. But when she tells the Sovereign of like, whatever, go kill my dad, knowing that the Howlers are and Quinn are on deck to pull them out, there is that little bit of me is like, well, yes, Darrow got them into this situation, but also so did Mustang, that she did call them out and is the one to, you know, pull them out of that situation in an attempt to have been a rescue, but still that it's like, part of me is a little bit on Mustang for this one too.
Yeah, that's very fair. And like, it's kind of, she's a little dicey in the beginning of Golden Sun, I think, like where she's really figuring stuff out. Like she's really trying to decide like where her loyalties lie, and at the expense of, I think, Quinn a little bit in that moment. Yeah, rough in these streets.
I know. I love that moment though, where it's like, oh god, they're back, it's so amazing, and then you only get it for like one, and you're like, and now they're dying. Oh no,
gang's all here for this really tragic death.
And like, the gang watches Quinn die.
Yeah, like oopsie daisy. And like to bring Jackal too, like in the fold, I feel like in that moment too, like it's, you're so frustrated with Darrow and like the whole situation. So like I understand like the reactions of those characters and like who to trust and everything. And I think like the Jackal, speaking of a good villain, I think he is like the ultimate villain. Like he's so great at what he does as a character. And like, I don't know, it's such an unstable time in this series to think about where they're all at, right? Like this is the very beginning of like creating the rebellion and all these sorts of things, and like where it builds from there, and how it sort of like ties everybody together in that moment of like, you know, someone we really care about, who we've known for years and years, is now dead in a way that, and it's a lot of like Leah's death, right? Like it's all these things where it's like, it's so unnecessary.
100%.
It's just for like, power, right?
Yeah. Well, that's, I had a note of the mirror of Leah and Quinn, and these like using Darrow as, right, like Leah dies because come out Darrow, like come whatever, and it's almost a very similar of like, oh, you're not gonna do what we want, well then your friend's dead. And like just that little bit of a mirror of the two of them, it's like, oh, okay, I guess they're expendable because they're attached to Darrow in some, and Roke.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, I think that's really what to Roke it feels like, right? Like this is reliving that moment over again, and further proof of him being like, what you care about is not what I care about. Yeah. And that will never be true, right? Like you will never care about the same things. And it's like, that one really hurts, you know? That one's savage. Because it's like this, like we did this 2 years ago, and you let her die. And that's how he feels. Like you let the Jackal take care of her and try to fix her, and you let her die.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like, ouch.
Ooh, it's rough. It's a rough one. You know. An interesting conversation that I I forget who posted it, but someone on Instagram put about Seraphina's death and how much it hurts and was done wrong. And I commented being like, so that's a hat death. And had a couple back and forth with people either not knowing what the hat death was. Is it a confirmed hat death? Yes, there's the three. So I said, yeah, there's three confirmed. Pax, Seraphina, and Tongueless. And someone commented, wait, so that means the rest of them are planned. And I think especially with Quinn, it's an interesting one that you had so many people in that room. And Pierce's point with the hat death is this is all random. But this death was not a random.
Oh.
Pierce chose. Like, Pierce went, you know who's going to die here? It's Quinn. And I think that also hurts a lot, that it wasn't Pebble, it wasn't Clown, or any of the rest.
I think it had to be someone that we like knew well enough and were invested in, and it had to be shocking. And again, everything we've talked about in this whole episode is like what happened after is the catalyst for the rest of this book specifically. And like, again, I wouldn't say it necessarily does a lot for like the rest, maybe into Morningstar. And I think a lot of like Roke's resentment and guilt and all those sorts of things. Like, I don't think it has outstanding effects other than guilt through the rest of the series, but like he had to make it someone. And like, I don't think, like we said, I don't think Pebble and Clown and Screwface were big enough that we had like really known them, that if they died, it wouldn't have just been, I mean, like, even when, who is it that dies with the EMP? Is that Pebble?
Weed.
Dies.
Doesn't Weed
die?
Weed. So it's like, yeah, with Weed, it's like, you know, like you care a lot and you're really upset, but like it's not like so devastating. That was, we're all like, who? Like it's, you know, it's like so devastating, but like Weed. We have never, the only time we really meet any of these characters is in Lightbringer.
Yeah.
Truly, where we get like a glimpse of Clown when he comes back and they were like, oh, they made him into this, you know, it's Clown, right? That they like make him into this great
Screwface.
Screwface. They make him into this beautiful gold, and then you really feel like his emotions or whatever. But that's like the first time we've ever gotten like the idea of a point of view of these characters. So like, I don't think we were invested in them at all.
Yeah.
But Quinn has fallen in love with Cassius. She has a crush on Darrow, vaguely, like in the idea of him. She loves Roke. She loves Sevro. Like, you know, she's such a huge part of all the men who have created this universe thus far, and she has a lot of respect for Mustang, and she is that like, you know, second tier to her in that weird friendship that they have in the first one in the Institute and all that kind of stuff. So it had to be someone big, but it couldn't be so big that like we take away main character, right? So I think she was just big enough. And it's very calculated, and I hate that. I hate Pierce for that.
Yeah, it's a big one for that.
Really painful that you thought that far ahead, my guy.
That is my thing, because also, and I always want to have like a sit down just on his actual, he's like, yeah, I pants like all of this, and it's like, but there's this death especially is a calculated, that has to happen in order for Roke to turn, right? Like Quinn and Tactus, I feel like have to be the two that die so that Roke flips. And it is such a calculated thing, but it's like, at what point did he realize that?
Right.
Of like, okay, well, this is how it plays out. Or is it a like, oh, well, we're in this room with Aja and we're stuck. How do we get through in a way that would actually build? Like, it's a very interesting, like, you claim you're pantsing, but clearly one thing has to lead to another.
Yeah, you knew something.
Maybe he didn't have the gala planned. Maybe he was just like, oh, I see what I've given myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
That's fair. One will never know. Only Pierce knows.
Yeah, I was going to say one at least will know.
At least one. I don't know if he would remember.
He might have forgotten by now.
He's like 100%. He's like, I don't know what's happening here. He doesn't remember half of his own books. It's great. Yeah. But yeah, it's such a, I don't know, that poor person they're like, wait, does that mean the rest of these were planned? And I was like, yes, correct.
Yeah. I think people do have to die in the series for the shock factor of it all, for it to feel 100%. Like both realistic and also like vast. Like people have to die.
Yeah.
And it's like the Vampire Diaries, you know? Like you have to kill people off for people to stay invested and like feel some type of way about these characters. Like that's just how it moves forward and how it works, especially in some sort of like space. We'll call it like a supernatural world of any form. Like there has to be high stakes. Yes. They have to be really high. And there are like some deaths that are way more devastating than others. And I feel like are unnecessary. And I don't know if I would say Quinn is one of them. That was unnecessary. Like, I don't think it needed to be this brutal, but I do feel like it had to happen for where he was going with the story. Did I want it to happen? No.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
and especially how graphic it is of like
It's
how many times she gets her head smashed and it's like a whole thing and like
4 times faster than I can blink.
yeah.
That is wild work.
That is, yeah.
And again, and then also I think a huge part of that is not just, the rescue of the jackal, where Darrow in that moment doesn't know what to do, and it's the jackal who grabs her and they go. But then the like how the jackal even plays it out that you think she's going to be saved, that it's like grabbing the med kit, do this, tells Roke to tell her a story, like just talk to her, like it really is that moment that you're like, she'll make it out, she'll be okay, until it's
They can
like,
fix this.
and here's her body.
But like we haven't really had a moment where we've seen the other colors in their specialty either a lot at that point. So you don't like I think he does a good job of this because you don't know how much faith you're supposed to have in the yellows, right? And like how much the medical team can really do and like how much equipment they have on this ship and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I think again, a reason why the series is so popular is like he has done a really great job of rolling out what you're supposed to know. And in that moment, like we don't have a lot of faith because we just don't know about it. And you can't get your hopes up too high because you're not like, oh, they're miracle cures. Like everyone knows how to do everything. All we've seen thus far is a carver. And we don't know what that means in the sense of like, medical emergency. So
you're right, because them yelling for a yellow would have been the first time it's truly referenced that is who their like savior would be in that moment. And they don't.
And they just talk about how strong they are, right? And you're like, oh, it's so hard to like hurt a gold, and that's why this is the way it is, and all this stuff. But you've never seen like what happens. Right? We've never had anyone survive.
Yeah.
If they get hurt, like R.I.P. Pax,
Oh.
And then they just get eaten.
Oh yeah.
They, get hurt.
I do have to say, I forgot all of the references that including Nero is in on the jackals. Like, I don't think the delicacy is to your liking at the gala. And I'm like, dear God.
He'll never get out of that shadow,
He is never beating those allegations.
Oh, poor thing,
Yeah. I'm like,
he's a rough one.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's such a good villain. He's another one. Like him and Roke, I think, are in the same vein, except for, Jackal is a total psychopath.
Yeah.
Like he has
I think they're like in the same vein, but like they're opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Like Roke is operating in a framework of emotion, and the Jackal is exactly not. There's no emotion. It's all calculation.
They all like believe like in being like the classiest version of yourself, and like they believe in like intelligence and learning more and like seeking that out. And they're very, very similar, but exactly like I think they are the same, two sides of the same coin, where they like believe in the same thing. They believe in the system. They want to think that like we need this structure. Yeah. They think that that like golds are superior and all those sorts of things. But he is nuts.
Yeah, batshit insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk his death with. We have Jenna Sharp, who is Mustang, and that was when we recorded with her 3 years ago. She made a comment about wanting to like dissect the jackal, and I had to message her and be like, the time is come. That I think she has like a psychology background.
It's happening.
Yeah, she has like a psychology background, and she's like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to like do a like deep analysis on the jackal, and I messaged her and I was like, 3 years later, we're here.
I got a spot for you. I can't wait for that. I think he's such a fascinating character, and I don't know. It's just crazy to think like all these different characters that Pierce has created and how like complex they are, and again like all the deaths that had to have happened to move the plot along, and like how much they've affected everything, and like what those characters have done, even in the fallout. Like you're saying, like how many times like these people's names have been mentioned before and after their death.
Yeah,
it's like, yikes, you guys.
It's fascinating to me, some of them. Obviously, poor Quinn, kind of forgotten in that second trilogy. But even 26 times in Morningstar, Which means she's mentioned morning. What you said 17 times after her death in Golden Sun. So talked more about
Yeah.
a Morning Star than post-death Golden Sun, which would like it's a book versus half a book, but that's still you would expect that her, death in that moment is spoken about, but it just has those ramifications. Yeah, some of those other statistics are like fascinating. I'm excited as we go through. I'm glad you brought it up. I did right before we start, like right before you signed on. I was like, Crescent, I didn't ask. What are the stats? He just does the quick look.
No, I love it.
Some of them are very interesting.
Yeah,
Roke, I feel like will be an interesting one to know how many times is mentioned.
Very into that. I would be curious too to see who has been talked about the most after they died. Like what character has been mentioned the most after, and what that looks like.
Yeah, we can definitely. We'll keep tabs on this. I write them all down, so we'll revisit when we get to Lightbringer.
Yeah.
My guess would be EO because she gets the most after, like she's obviously the front of the, so she has the most time to be talked about after her death, but also just her ramification. The hard thing is we didn't even look up poor Pax after because he just like in the second trilogy becomes somebody else that you're like we can't
and a ship
tell.
So.
And a ship.
Yeah.
As
like 3 for 1
these chapters, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did read that chapter today where it's like, hey, this is the Vanguard, but now it's the Pax, and how quickly Darrow comes up with it. Like, there's no hesitation. It's just obviously this is the Pax now. Like,
that's
why?
Been, like, living.
It's the biggest ship in the Armada. What else is he gonna call it? The Sevro?
Gonna name it?
Come on.
Yeah.
He's been living with that guilt. It's been right here this whole time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and especially with the Telemanus now around, like we finally get to see Cavix and Daxo, at least the two of them, and like.
No.
They're just like, our son followed him, so we will too, right? Like, they're just like, this is what it is.
Yeah, that's a wholesome relationship for sure.
Yeah.
Love them.
Oh. Well, is that all we've got for Quinn? I mean, we could go on forever and ever, but we've covered the main. Yeah. It's a hard one. And again, the first prolonged death. One of the few that it is not a just like, and they're done. You gotta,
In like the heat of battle too, right? Like a lot of the, like even with Pax, it's like they're in the heat of whatever's going on with the Jackal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Waiting for that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yikes.
Hard one. Well, thank you for joining us. I was so excited to hear that you wanted to talk that I was like, because I won't like, no one else volunteered for her. So we were going to actually put her in with Nero. Because I was like, well, the two of them are like that small, like they don't necessarily, because Harvest, we love her, is coming on at the end of each book to talk all the small deaths. So obviously this is our first episode of Golden Sun. We have skipped the gala. There's obviously deaths that happen there, but nobody that you particularly care that much about. This is the first big one of Golden Sun, but she was going to be mixed in with Nero because nobody had claimed it. And then when we heard that, you're like, I was like, Quinn. I was like, yes, let's bring her on.
I feel so passionately. I just think it's such a shocking one. And like, it is one of the bigger ones, like in the start of Golden Sun. I mean, you probably could like loop her in again. I don't think she has a ton of trajectory past the original trilogy and stuff like that, but she is like, I don't know, she could have been a really cool character, and I think that's the most like depressing part is like where could she have gone?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So much potential.
Yeah, wasted, just like that.
Wasted.
All for Roke's betrayal.
Yep.
Do you think she got the wasted screen, like from Grand Theft Auto?
Wasted. Oh,
I love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Quinn.
Thank you so much for coming.
I'm out of wine, but there it is.
Yeah.
Cheers to her.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Pour one out.
Cheers.
Yeah.
That's right. With your vodka punch.
Yeah. Oh.
Could have had 4 tiny ones. 4 really quick ones.
Oh.
That's rough.
That's very
rough.
That's
not nice.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching or listening. Thank you, Patreon, for supporting. And we'll see you next week with Tactus. Which will be more talking about Roke, I'm sure. But Salem's going to join us.
Getting fucked up next week in honor.
Yeah.
We should. How many not that I do drugs. I was going to be like, what drugs can we do ahead of time in the name of Tactus? But, that's for another type of podcast. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And have a good night.